Meet with a functional medicine doctor for the first time? Do you want to maybe be more thoughtful about the food that we eat? But write down 1, 2, or 3 things in that box, just words, not phrases. But when we assemble back here in a year, where do you want to be where do you want to be a year from now in terms of health? Just write down a few words. All right. Where do you want to be a year from now in terms of money? Are you looking to increase your cash flow? Maybe looking at all of your assets and really rethinking them in terms, maybe moving from net worth to what is the future cash flow? Maybe it's meeting with an advisor that I recommend. But where do you want to be a year from now? When we get together a year from now, where do you want to be in terms of money? What's the stretch? What does it look like? Maybe the goal with money is to be in more control of the money versus abdicating it or not paying attention to it. Maybe the goal with money is to get on the same page with money in your marriage, in your relationship. Maybe if you're single and dating, it's really looking to work with somebody and understanding what you want in a partner when it comes to with money and having these conversations. And then where do you want to be with your marriage and relationships? Where do you want that to be a year from now? How do you want it to look different than it looks today? If you're married, money and marriage, it's an important, critical conversation. Money and marriage need to be combined. Money is one of the legs on the 3-legged stool. If we don't talk about it, we're not going to build and grow it, and we're going to have to accept the consequences of that in the future. If we're single, what do we want our relationships and our relationship to look like in the future? Just put a few words down. When it comes to everything we've talked about, it's like Tamars said yesterday, when it comes to health and wealth, we have to be in it with our partners. If they're not on the same page, it just makes life and marriage so difficult. If we're engaged, start these conversations now. Make money a part of your marriage, a pillar. Doesn't mean you're not going to fight about it every once in a while, but when you're studying this, growing together, building your life together, let money be built in the framework of it. So where do you want your marriage or your relationships to look like from a year from now? And then where are you right now in terms of your health? And just be honest, this is your book. Nobody, not even your partner, spouse needs to see it if you don't want them to. But where are you right now in terms of health? Based on especially the conversation we had yesterday, if you had to even grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 maybe sick, 2 or 3. 2 is probably I don't know. 3 is like I'm feeling tired and older and feeling some consequences of age. 5 means I think I've got this thing nailed. But where are you right in terms of health? And think about that gap between where you are right now and what you just wrote down, where you want to be a year from now. The focus is the gap. And where are you, page 25, where are you in terms of money? Right now, how much cash flow? How much net worth that produces cash flow? How in control of you of all of your money? How in control of you how in control are you of your cash flow, your monthly spending? How in control are you filling those buckets? How much is in those buckets? You need to be able to know. And how are you in terms of assets? What cash flow are those assets producing right now? What are you doing with the cash from your assets? And what's the gap between where you are right now and what you're writing down and where you want to be a year from now? You can do a lot in a year. You can do a lot in 2 years. So when we start following this and using it, Gary and I have rebuilt. We pretty much, like I said, liquidated a lot of things in 2013, and in a couple of years, what are we, 2016, however much time that is? And we basically had to start a lot over, start all the cash flow over because the businesses had crumbled. So less than 3 years. We don't have to start at 21. You can start right now. I can show you how. And then finally, where are you right now in your marriage? Where are you right now in your relationships?
Man hands to woman.
If we're married, we want to continue to make money more of a conversation. If we're thinking about marriage or engaged to be married, we certainly want to move forward with this being an important conversation in our future marriage. It's really the difference between strong, healthy marriages. Money is a strong, healthy part of marriage. It's really hard not to have a lot of conflict if you can't get on the same page with money. Money's emotional. If you can't talk about it, it's hard. Nobody will tell you that, but it's true. Because money is that conversation we don't want to put out in the open. And compared where you are right now in your marriage or future marriage, how does it compare to what you want it to be a year from now? Our wealth, our health, and our relationships, for the sake of living a good life now, tomorrow, and in the future. A life of meaning, freedom, actualization, life, love, happiness. So now what we're going to do is we're going to break for an early lunch. For those of you that do want to learn more about Power Collective, stay in this room. We'll have lunch for you. I didn't want to take away from any of the content or anything, so that's why we'll do it over lunch so that I could pack everything in. I talked really fast today. I got through about 50% of what I wanted to share with you before Rachel's in the back of the room saying, time out, your time over, time over. So everybody that's not going to stay, feel free. This is your time to go talk, have lunch. Everybody else that does want to learn more about Power Collective, stay here with me. and then we'll grab a quick lunch, and then we can all come back here and sit down, and I'll talk more over here. I have our different businesses that Gary and I own, and that's a big part. That's like this part. Our businesses over there are the big part of the cash flow here, where all this starts. So that's part of what I can share with you over lunch, is how that works.
So if you want to stay in here, the team will bring in your lunch, so you don't have to go try to get it and then get back. We'll bring you drinks and food.
Okay, so anybody that wants to stay, stay. And then everybody else, it's your time to escape and go grab a bite to eat. And really talk about this.
So you understand that I just need to get up to speed before I'm
I
ready.
totally do. I know. When you get a chance, will you do me a favor? Would you give Deborah Hernandez, the one that was just talking to me, one of the my books as a gift?
Yep.
Before she leaves, thank you.
Do you want to write anything in?
Yeah. Oh, yay.
We're in a similar strategy.
Okay.
They're all with this, but that's what we're doing.
Sorry to interrupt.
Good job.
Thank you.
As they're coming in, you might want to ask them to try to sit up front. I mean, I
Okay.
know other people have got their stuff
I'll
on,
do that.
but
Okay.
just,
And are you and Kevin going to sit in here particularly?
we're going to stay. Yeah, we're
Okay.
going to stay on to the back. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Ready? You have any questions about anything?
You know, let's do this. What I'll do is maybe if you'll grab Whitney or somebody, I'm going to move all these chairs up, and then I'll just sit right here back here with them.
Great. Yeah.
If you'll pull these chairs out so I can sit up with them.
You're on to something. You hit it. You nailed it.
Thank you.
It's not the assets of worker. It's actually.
Yeah, yeah.
We're sure they're not coming back, right?
Not right now, yeah.
Coming back now?
Oops. Oh. Here, I'll do it afterwards. We don't have to give it to her right now, but before she leaves. That's all right. I wasn't clear. No, just for lunch.
she was.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you mind if I stay here?
Please.
You do?
No, please stay. Is that what you asked?
Yeah. You said yes.
Oh, I thought you said mind if I stay. Oh, no, yes, I mind. No, I don't mind. Got it. I would like you to stay. Thank you. All right. How's lunch? Delicious. All right, so you guys, terrible. All right, I can't. Amy and Jim, I can't see you. Let's see. Is anybody sitting here? Can we all just scoot down one? Is that in? You know what? That doesn't matter. Are you good? I just want to be able to see everyone. Oh, yeah. Trish is here. There you are. So I want to start out with sharing with you why I created what I call the collective. And it's been a little bit of a work in progress because I knew what was missing, but I didn't quite know how to create it. And so the last 12 months has really been working to design it. Because anybody that's starting anything from scratch, you have an idea, but you never know how it's exactly going to work out. But the reason why I created this, because I don't know about you, but I felt alone. I felt alone and overwhelmed that so much of the learning and building, it's scary. There's misinformation out there. I didn't have the right people to talk to. Gary and I don't know, especially as couples, we don't have a lot of other couples we could relate to. So Gary and I are tight, and we've gone through the stuff, some of the stories I've shared with you, but we've really felt alone in all this, that we didn't have a lot of people to relate to. And I didn't have the right people, and then I've been working so hard, you can see some of the creation I've had, but nobody to really create it with. And say, this is what's happening for me. Are you, like Duke, experiencing the same thing? Like Duke just shared, yes, we're kind of in something similar, but do you feel like you're trying to figure this out alone? And then you're wondering if you're doing it right, and you're doing it a little differently than other people, and you're wondering, well, everybody else is doing it that way, but we're doing it this way. So that's really the inspiration behind what I'm calling the collective, is I don't think we spend enough time together. Life is so busy that we're all alone trying to figure our lives out and survive and make money and raise kids. And if we're a single mom or something, it makes it that much harder. And then, we don't have the right networks around us. So that's the inspiration behind this group, is so that we could have a group of people who want to be in a story together. But not just a story, and it's not necessarily just all entertainment. I mean, we have our groups that we go to the tailgate parties with and stuff. These are the group that actually want to squeeze the juice out of life, that want to work towards building a good life and be doing it together. So that's why I created this. And some of the power just of the collective minds, even I was talking to David last night, and I know David, and now they live right down the street, and they're our best friends, some of our best friends. In fact, I had to convince them to move to Austin because Dallas was too far away for, and that's why they're in move hell right now and living in an unfinished house, and anyway, their lives are chaos right now. But I was talking to David about some of the conversation yesterday about savings, about health insurance. And he was talking to me about, what people can do are these health savings accounts, and then it's tax-free money, it's tax, putting in, it's tax-free pulling it out. But I thought with HSAs, for example, you had to use the $6,500 every single year. And so we've been spending that to try to, liquidate it and spend it and use it. And David said, oh gosh, no, you can let that accumulate. We have over $90,000 sitting in ours. It's our future retirement, that retirement number, but that's our future health care. I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. And then I was talking to John with Opus, and he was talking about, something, Christina, something that's left out of some of your talk is the Social Security piece. You don't talk about it because you're not dependent on it, but it's a big part of the guaranteed cash flow. I'm like, oh my God, so just by virtue, for me alone, the virtue of this group coming together is I learned two different things that Gary and I are now going to tweak some of our financial stuff just by two very short conversations. So that's some examples of what's inspired me to create this group, pull the right group of people, put out the invitations, and why we're all doing this together. More than that, that's the collective intelligence. And I wanted to be, I want to be around a group of people that are competitive thinkers. We're out competing and living a good life at the same time. But it's hard to find like real groups of competitive thinkers, not competitive like we're going to go win, but competitive thinkers like we are after living a good life and we want to be in this race and we do want to produce and design and be with other people like us, because I don't know about you, but there aren't a lot of people out there that want to do this kind of thing. And so it's lonely. It's just so lonely. And I know I don't have all the answers, far from it. So I know we can find all the answers or enough of the answers together, bringing our collective intelligence, our life stories, our journeys. Another space that I've wanted to create is a place of full transparency, where we truly can be ourselves, where it's a safe place, where some of you have shared some of your personal stories with me, and maybe sharing some of my personal stories and tragedies, and airing all my dirty laundry. Maybe for some of you, it's made it okay that you can too, because when we hold this stuff inside, or we think we're the only ones that have a son that's totally off the rails, and you're scared to death that they're even going to make it past age 22, and they're driving you crazy, and they're irresponsible, and you're like, how did I raise a child like this? You think you're the only one. And when we can all talk about it, I now know that many of us have the same son as I have. So I don't feel like such a terrible mother anymore. We're all terrible mothers and parents. But that helps me. Like, you guys sharing your personal stories help me. Because we're human, and life, like Fernando said yesterday, he even said, you might be careful with the word happiness, because life can be tragic. So if you focus on happiness, it can set us up for the wrong mood, because we think we should be happy. But we can actually even have happiness in tragedy if we know we're going to die. And if we know we have enough. And we know we're with the right people. But true transparency and authenticity, so we can just be ourselves. We have to perform everywhere else. We're already weirdos. We don't fit. We are square pegs in a round hole, trying to maneuver in this world that it's not where we belong. And so I need a sense of belonging. I need to belong somewhere. And I've been searching my entire fucking life to try to belong. I've never belonged anywhere. I was the kid that didn't belong. I was the kid that got ostracized and didn't have any friends. I was the one made fun of. I've never belonged anywhere in my entire life. I've never belonged. And it hurts not to belong. And trying and searching and searching and searching and searching for belonging. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Then I see my son, who's 21. He was at Texas Tech. And he's probably this close from suicide because he couldn't belong. And I saw him not belong like I didn't belong. And it killed me. And I couldn't help him. He was a fish out of water. He's trying to belong in this place that's not him. And he's being told by culture and society, just stick in, get the piece of paper, get the degree, something's wrong with you. And he's failing and getting more depressed and smoking pot every day and trying coke and everything and just going off the rails. And I'm looking at my son like, where did you go, you beautiful, amazing child? Where did you go? All from not belonging. I mean, he just went straight down. And I think I realized that I can't find a place to belong. I have to create one. I have to find other weirdos like me that maybe don't belong anywhere else either. So that's what this is about. It's a place where we can belong, where we can be ourselves, where we can create and be, show our cracks, support each other. And it's like when I was in my version of rehab, not drug rehab, but my own little rehab space, what I call my personal 60 days of true personal growth, is, like I said yesterday, the healing came in the group. It wasn't the one-on-one. All those one-on-one therapies, sure, they were helpful, but it's all the group. It's where I could look at Pam and say, Pam, I've got your back. Keep going through, break down, break apart. It doesn't matter. I love you just the same. I love you as your broken self, and I love you as your perfect self. Both are okay with me. It was the first time in my life where I actually truly felt love for me, not for my achievements. Because when you feel you have to be loved by your achievements, you always have to achieve more, and life becomes about achievement and capital at work, and it doesn't become about living and being. Heart to heart, intuition in our gut, out of our head, but being in a group of others that are focused on these same things, because life is busy out there, life is tough out there. I'm pretty dedicated to this, and I'm pulled off track all the time, so I need my peeps that are part of this with me so that I can do it together. So that's what I've been working on since being sick, is to bring together the people that I relate to, and that relate to each other. I want friendships to develop. Friendship is missing. We go in our houses these days, and what do? We either soccer moms and dads running all over the place, crazy, getting our kids in college. Then we go home, we drive our cars in the garage, we close the garage, we live behind our doors, we eat dinner, we do homework, we do the crazy stuff, we run the kids around, we go inside, we lock our doors. We don't even know who our next door neighbors are anymore. We've lost our sense of belonging. So, and just the being disconnected. So some of the results of even the last year, starting this, and not quite sure what it be, but it's already starting to take its own shape. All the contingencies, little contingencies are starting to happen. So over the last year, since it started in its infancy, and I wasn't quite sure what it was, I have more clarity now. Because people are now, the right people are being attracted to this. But even some of the work we've done this last year, some of our members have found their pre-diabetes. Isn't that great, just through this group and through the labs and work we've done, that they know this, that now they can change their life versus it developing into full diabetes? David and Tamara moved the entire family down here. And David, do you mind telling a little bit about?
No, I think the interesting thing that's funny is Gary and I have known each other for quite some time, and Brian and I have as well from work relationships. And I was just saying this to Gary. We literally had this conversation 5 minutes ago. We were walking outside, and Gary asked me, he goes, "Have you heard?" I feel like Christina does, in the sense of, I've never felt like I fit in anywhere. My wife knows this quite well. I'm the redneck who has a bass boat, but yet I'm an executive. So my executive friends don't have bass boats, and my bass boat friends have no idea what being an executive is about. So it's like, okay, where the hell do I fit? I don't know what that says about you, Christina.
You're a redneck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get all right. We're good. But where I was going with this, or what I was sharing with Gary, is outside is we literally just moved from McKinney, and we moved to McKinney 5 years ago from Chicago, and being in McKinney is voted one of the best places to live in the country by Fortune or Forbes or whoever does that rating, and it was a great community. And when Tamara came to me, because she was traveling down here, I travel all the time on business, and she was coming down all the time, and she's like, well, maybe we should consider moving to Austin. And I said to her, I said, yeah, let's do it. And she was like, what? You know, because we thought the home we had bought in McKinney would be the home we were going to retire in. And basically, she asked me why later, and I said, it's because we have no friends here. We're active in our church, we're very active in our faith, and our church friends, we can't sit down and have the conversations that we have with this group of people. Our neighbors are in they're on the treadmill. It's just funny to watch our neighbors overspend, they accumulate shit, they've got, they're doing stuff that is not adding value, to their life, so they're not thinking about this 100-year life way of thinking. And I was telling Gary, literally, I said, the coolest thing is, I consider, like, Alan's become one of my best friends who's sitting here in front of me. I would have never have met Alan, or Gary is one of my best friends as well now, because we spent time together in this community with this group of people, and our backgrounds are so different, or Dave Williams, or Paul, who's sitting in the front. Tamara and I went out, I would have never gone out to California to spend, they live in Reno, and they've got a place in the Sierra Nevadas, and we went out there and spent some time with Paul and Margaret after meeting them one time. David Stacy never did that. Conservative financially, I would have never, it's like, oh, that's too much money. That's the way my brain used to think. But now that I'm around a group of people, we all have different backgrounds, we're all different perspectives. The fun thing, and what I shared with Gary, the cool thing about this group is being part of this is all the crap that you have to go through to get to know people, that sense of belonging crap that, I am not an extrovert. I'm as much of an introvert as you. Ask Tamara, my wife is definitely the extrovert in the family. I get all worked up to be in the role that I'm in work, and to go lead meetings and speak to hundreds of people at a time and do those kind of things. But I'm wiped out at the end of the day. So for me to go have small talk with the neighbors, bullshit, I can't do that. I suck at it. And she's smiling because she knows I suck at it. If it doesn't involve fishing, the conversation wanes real quick. But the reason for bringing this up is this group has brought together that sense of belonging. And literally, Christine and Gary and I were talking outside. And I don't mean Gary to keep bringing this up, but it's just amazing you asked me to talk about it. My conversation, I was the 20, and Gary happened, we're two of the million or billion people that actually started at age 21.
Right.
So we've been on that parallel for a long time, but it is the thinking in terms of what was that number, how close are we to those numbers, and the way we've lived our lives is, and Tamara sees us now, we're totally changing the way we focus our lives and how we take advantage of where we're at right now, because, and again, I'll share this with you guys. My dad's fighting dementia, and my dad is 78, very proud man, former college basketball player at the University of Louisville, was drafted to play in the NBA. Great real estate career after basketball, very, very proud individual. And to watch Dad now, suffer with dementia, and he's heading down the path of Alzheimer's but I can't get him to change. And I'm sitting here listening to these conversations going, yeah, my dad, as soon as he left work, lost his identity. And I've just watched over the last 5 years, Dad just, my idol, stuff. I don't want to be there.
Thank you.
Didn't think that was going to happen. But I really, I don't want to be there. This gives you an avenue not to be there. It means a lot. So.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
We don't have to be there.
The group's not a downer all the time, guys.
Yeah. Well, and then we have Tamars Laugh, so you can't but be yanked out of anything. Thank you. But that's what life is that we have each other to be vulnerable with and be ourselves and to share the hurt. Like I shared yesterday, my mom's going through cancer, and it's hard to see your parents. And the sad thing is most of us are headed that same direction if we don't change something now. So the collective, who it's not for, is for those that, don't want to be in these conversations, that may not want to be a little bit vulnerable. It doesn't create the kind of transparency I'm offering, but so don't be scared. But this isn't about status quo. This isn't about the average. This isn't about same old. This isn't about, I'm going to retire at 62. I hate my life. I hate my job, and life gets better at some future place. But it is about living, being, becoming, growing, learning. And what it's really about, that I think is the greatest thing, is the collective intelligence. The collective intelligence up here, the collective intelligence here, to be in a place where we can feel each other, relationships made, friendships, best friendships created, knowing automatically you're in a group of people just like you, so you don't have to wonder if you fit in. If you're sitting here, you do. And then here, our intuition, our gut, and just going with it, being led by what guides us here and here. And we don't have to be so stuck up here when we can just be ourselves and be in conversation. And what happens, all the contingencies that happen from the conversation and the relationships. And then the space of coming together is that we come together 3 times a year. So you get to see your old friends again. Many of us that studied in the Aji Network, we hated the Aji Network by the end.
I thought you liked me.
But we got together because I loved Brian. But I stayed in that darn network for probably 3 to 4 years too long because I loved my friend Brian, and I loved seeing him 3 times a year, and my other friends. I loved Tamara. And it's the only time I got to see her because she was at Chicago. She wasn't even married to David at the time. But she and I got to have dinner 3 times a year. That's what kept me in, the people, the relationships. And that's something great that came out of that group, of course, was these friendships that, I wouldn't have had otherwise. That's what Toby did for me, is he brought together this collective group of people that were my peeps, some of my peeps. And then we all left the Aji Network and never really talked to each other again. And when's the last time you and I talked? Yeah. Years, A lot of us, good friendships developed, and we went through the study program together. He's had his life situations, I've had mine, and we didn't even know. And we really liked each other in the Aji Network.
Truth be told, I was intimidated by her. She was calling me.
So real quick, I'm going to go to the board. And I'm so sorry, I can't even read my own writing. But. So really what I'm working to design with the collective is to focus on 3 key areas of life. And it's wealthy, wealthy, happy. Health, wealth, money, wealth. Some is happiness. And this happiness piece really is the relationship piece. True happiness comes through relationships. I think that's why we're happiness deficient, because even though we're married or we're in the public or we're at the soccer game together, we're still disconnected. or we're on our cell phones. Like our relationships are not strong, they're not tight, they're not meaningful, they're not heartfelt. It's really just a means to an end, or we're just in a space like soccer. I mean, I didn't relate to the soccer parents, I didn't relate to the parents at the kids' school, like I just never belonged. So the one thing, and it's what we've talked about this weekend, is health, is what we're going to do is continue to focus on health. I want to help you, including myself, avoid disease. It is inevitable. All those causes that I put on the board yesterday, if we are doing any of those things, the only thing, the place to go is disease. It's guaranteed because our bodies aren't made for synthetics. And the whole culture and all the misinformation and misunderstanding has us set up for disease. It's heartbreaking to see our parents who work so hard, your dad is your idol, can't think anymore. His whole life was his thinking and his identity. And it's crumbling to us as children. Don't we want to save our children from that if we can? There's no guarantee, but we can at least try to reverse it as much as possible, at least really reduce the likelihood that's going to happen. And there's our wealth. You know, kind of 1.0 here on health has been everything I talked about, is that it's this whole system of insurance. You know, we don't even go get checked if our insurance doesn't cover it. It's, we really rely, we're in a mindset of pills and procedures. The doctors are the cure. I mean, all of this here, we have no control. And we have probably a lot of good students in here, so we've done everything we've been told. We thought we've done everything right. But this thing that's out there right now is killing us. David's dad did everything right. They probably thought they were eating right. His dad was exercising. He was building his career, the big identity, huge, very successful in his hometown, thinking, doing everything he was told. And it's wrong. That's where we're headed. Then on the wealth side, you know, our capital at work, we're deferring our life. Good boys and girls, doing our religious saving and investing. You wouldn't be in this room if you weren't doing that part pretty well already. Doing what the Audrey Network told us, those of us that studied there. But building this capital number, but even if we can have enough, we're deferring our life because we are all worried about this number. And we're checking it all the time. What's the cap at work? How close am I to retirement? How close am I to retirement? Why? It's just because we've been told that. We've been told, and what we've done is we've taken our life out of our control and put it into the financial institutions. Here we put the control to the doctors. Here we put it in the financial institutions. And again, we thought that's 1.0. We thought we were doing it all right. That's been all of the common sense in the marketplace. But that's what we've been doing. And then relationships. I have one failed marriage. Talk about a good recipe for wealth reduction. But our relationships, thank God I have Gary, but then it's just been Gary and me. And we're tight, but man, we want other friendships, we want other relationships. Here's our situation. I don't know if this works with any of you, but we go out with other couples. We like one of the couples really well. We can't stand the other one. And we're trying to make it through. And we go home, we're like, oh my God, really? Please don't make me do that again. And no, we want, that's why David and Tamara walk in the front door and they wouldn't even think of knocking on the door now, and vice versa. That's what we want. I mean, anybody can come in, and it's just like our home is your home. That used to be part of culture and society and our neighbors, and you took care of each other. If someone was sick, you were there, but we're too busy now. Like, don't bug me, best friend of mine, I'm too busy. So their relationships are suffering, and this is this connectivity, this belonging. We have to be loved, and we have to feel love, and we have to give love. Humans, it's heart to heart. It's love. It's true love, not for our achievements, but for who we are, because we're all so amazing. We're all so gifted. And then when you get the gift of all these incredible humans in one space, anything is possible. Anything's possible. And we'll get each other out. We'll be there. We can tell our stories. We can inspire one another in times when the other needs inspiration. Like really. But not woo-woo, not, that kind of therapy and stuff. No, like really. But our relationships are kind of sucking. Maybe, our marriages aren't as strong. We're not on the same page. We grow apart once the kids are grown. It's like, now what do we do? The kids are gone. So, I don't know, the divorce rate. And even then, we may stay married, but I don't know if there's a lot of really strong, happy marriages in the world. Husband's doing one thing, the wife's doing another, and I'm not judging that. If that works for people, great. I just think that there might be something that we want to aspire to. So that's what we're doing with the collective, is we're moving here where we have no control. No control, it's in the financial institutions, and really no control here. We're kind of keeping up with the Joneses, trying to look good to our neighbors. We look like we have a good marriage out in public. But a little control, society, culture has control. In all of these, we've done what we've been told. We've even done what we've been told here, stay married, do this, do that. Be helicopter parents, whatever we are, we're trying to compete to be a better parent than all the other parents. It's a competition of parents, and then we do our kids' homework to get them into the right schools. That was my kids' high school. The parents were taking the SATs for their kids and stuff, and my kids didn't have a chance. I'm like, screw that, I'm not doing your work. So that's where we are. That's what we've been taught. That's what we've been told. And we're good students, so we've been doing it. So through Power Collective, I want to invite you to another place. Let's call it 2.0. To move from 1.0 to 2.0. And the year after that, it'll probably be 3.0. We'll just keep going up point O's. And we talk about velocity. As we're working together, we can just go from 1, 2 to 5 as a group. So 2.0 is where we have control. We have control over our health, where we learn how it is to truly be healthy, where we as couples and marriages are being healthy together, we're working together, we're going to grow old together. The absolute worst thing I ever did for my family. I had my own level of suffering, but what that straw, one of the straws that took me down, was what I did to my husband and my kids. It broke my children. They didn't know how to cope. They knew kind of that their mom was dying, but didn't know because we hid it from them and tried to pretend everything was okay, but things were way not okay. They're in high school age. They're suffering. They're trying to pretend everything's okay, but our household is not okay. And they're out in the world trying to make sense of it, but mom's so sick, and I couldn't describe what was wrong, and I was scared to death, and horrible. I mean, there had to be a lot of forgiveness that went on in our household because my kids were really angry at me for getting sick and not telling them I was that sick. And I know it has some stuff to do with Kayla, my son, too. I mean, he went off the rails when I was sick. There wasn't mom there to kind of keep some of that together. So we're going to talk about health. I'm going to continue to introduce you to my health providers. I am connected with some of the most brilliant doctors in the country. And I'm getting more tight with the group. Eleanor, every doctor you met yesterday, you can't access them. They don't take more clients. The only access that people get to them now is they do my favors for me because I have those sorts of relationships and friendships, like we're friends. And they love what I'm doing here. So to have access to people like that, Kelly Kidwell is going to be talking after lunch. This guy's masterful. He's rich. He's brilliant. He doesn't take on new clients. So that's even over here on the wealth side, the 2.0, but it's these relationships, the network, being connected to people like David, for example. He's quiet. This guy's brilliant over here. And he knows money and he knows how to build fortunes. differently than I do. So that's pulling this together. But that's the health point 2.0. It's working on it's working on our health, where we're going to be healthy long into old age. We're going to get our energy back. We're going to move from being sick or not quite sure what's wrong, and we're going to own it. This is our time of accumulation. These are the best years of our life for building, for growing, for learning, for producing, for connecting, for having conversation in this velocity game. So we're going to move from here to up here together. I'm going to bring my doctors in. We'll talk about these things. We'll keep educating. We'll give you what you need. We'll answer questions. But the goal really, many of us in the room, we've got to already start reversing things. And so we work on all that together. Over here on the wealth, it's really moving out of this retirement capital at work mindset. And we're going to learn how to, the 6 building blocks or components of true velocity and cash flow, the full 100-year plan. But really move from no control to we're going to control our money. We're going to work it. We're going to own it. We're going to grow it. We're going to collaborate. We're going to talk. And this group of people, we're going to learn all sorts of things about how to grow our money. But to bring it back in our control and not to feel alone. So that you can call me, you could call David, you connect anybody else in the network and say, hey, this is what I'm working on. Is this what you're doing? Or we come together, we talk about it. So that's what we'll be working on together. Our health and our wealth. And the relationships is really the marriage and money piece, of course, is that we really do through the collective is one commonality, is the goal is that as couples, we do the money thing together as couples, but then the relationships, like what David shared, is true friendships, coming together, going from these relationships that are disconnected, that even if we're disconnected everywhere else, we can at least come back and connect. But 2.0 is about reconnecting. Having real friends, like real friends. Friends mean, I like you. I want to spend time with you. You're amazing. I'm so grateful you're in my life. Relationships is that, it's continuing to even build the, sort of the life by design of the relationships we want to grow into and who may be missing. But now, if you've been out trying to search like I've been searching, hopefully now we continue to attract, and we'll just attract people like us. And we'll just continue to build our collective and grow the relationships as we want to. It's ours. We can do it together. So what we'll do now, the collective is really, over the next 12 months, is moving from 1.0 to 2.0 together. Okay, deep breath. So what we'll do now is, I think everybody has their plates and stuff. So anybody that wants to talk more about it, I want to make it easy for anybody to escape that doesn't really want to talk more about it. So you can subtly sneak out the back door. And then anybody that has any questions about it, is really interested, wants any final details or whatever, we'll meet over at the table. So just take your stuff if you want to drop it off at the kitchen and then meet at the table. We'll convene over there in about 2 minutes, and that everybody else, don't feel bad. If you want to escape and go hang out in the garage, feel free to do so.
Actually, this one's clean, huh? Yeah. There might be more than 20 million there.
Okay, wait for me.
Okay.
Do you have You good with everything?
Yeah, so I need a piece of paper, is that what I
You
need?
should have them. You need a
Okay.
big piece of paper, so you want, if I were you, I'd want these 3 things.
Okay,
So, tear off sheet.
Here, Rob.
What's that? You already got it?
okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. Yeah.
Had never spent any time with Patrick.
Mm.
And we went out to dinner.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And like you were,
All the couples are amazing. They're in the group, yeah.
as far as investments go, he's probably one of the most comfortable passive investments I've ever made.
Yeah, I know. I know. We've all done well with him. I know.
Just the way he runs it.
Yeah, I know. He makes it really easy.
You're definitely on it.
Thank you. So we've already done a little bit of that.
True. Well,
Oh,
I want to ask them why they know this is.
okay. Why do you know this from me? Okay.
And I wrote this out.
Okay.
And this-
your chair?
Excuse me, where do you put my little bag?
Is this your tree?
Yeah, no.
I had a walnut tree that I hated. I would have liked to have done this.
Oh, really?
They're super.
Are they?
They drop. You're ready to stain everything.
Yeah, we don't have walnut here.
Not in Texas.
How you doing?
Okay.
That's all right. It's easy to clean up.
Oh, no, I've got it.
This is either exactly what I need or
The last thing.
I can't make any more mistakes.
Oh,
Oh, well, I don't think he's not really a good candidate. This is like, you're gonna have a lot of mistakes here.
That's what I heard.
You're protecting the plate now?
all right. Is this everyone? All right. No, we're good. We're good. All right, so quick question. Why do you think, who wants to let me know why you think the collective might be good for you?